Welcome to Funny They Don't Look Jewish, where Judaism appears in the panels. Our purpose is to find characters, stories, and issues of comics that explore explicitly Jewish content. I'm Brandon Bernstein.
I'm Henry Bernstein.
No relation. Hey, Henry.
Hey.
Great to see you. We're back.
We're back. This is our second episode in 2026.
Yeah, this is the year of Funny They Don't Look Jewish.
Not only in 2026, but we're here just 1 month after we did it in January.
Exactly.
So
it's the advantage of having a few episodes like in the bank, not recorded, but like we've been doing the research, we have ideas, we're not struggling to figure out what's next. So like we can just hit next one, which is really exciting. But I feel like we've got something a little different in mind. Like what are we talking about today, Henry?
This week we're talking about Batman.
Batman, which makes sense if any of you are watching. There's Batman in front of us and Batman behind. That's cool and all, but Henry, is Batman Jewish?
We're gonna find out.
Oh, okay then.
So as you know, Brandon, we talked about Batwoman as like one of our early.
I think the second character we ever covered was Batwoman. Love Kate Kane.
Two-parter Batwoman. Kate Kane, we know she is canonically Bruce Wayne's first cousin. So if the Jewish genealogist in me, the son of a Jewish genealogist, wonders, wait, if Bruce Wayne's first cousin is Jewish, is there a way in which he could be Jewish?
Right. I seem to remember that even when we did that first episode or that early Kate Kane episode, we were saying like, we don't know if Batman's Jewish, but he's participating in the mitzvah of helping to bury the dead because he was at that funeral, right? So there's really this question has been lingering. And I don't know about you, but as I'm paying attention to online chatter, as I'm talking to people, like a few people have been sending the question recently, like, wait a minute, is Batman Jewish? As I talk to people at our podcast and I tell them, oh yeah, we only cover characters that are explicitly Jewish. They're like, oh, well, I hear Batman might be Jewish. And so I guess we're going to dive in.
I guess.
Okay. So listeners, we are going to be looking at we're going to be placing the evidence before you, one little crumb at a time, to see whether or not we can make the case for Batman being Jewish. And we're going to start by going all the way back to 1986. What are we looking at first, Henry?
Yeah, first we're looking at Hex, number 11, July 1986, Night of the Batman, written by Michel Fleisher, penciled by Mark Texeira, although I know of a baseball player named Mark Teixeira who spells it similar. So
I would imagine.
So I wonder if it's Teixeira. But anyway, inked by Carlos Garzon, Pablo Marcos, colored by Bob LeRose, lettered by Augustin Mas, and edited by Michael Fleisher.
All right, so this comic is called Hex. So it's not about magicians or magic. This is about Jonah Hex. Henry, how familiar are you with Jonah Hex?
Familiar, Jace, in the way that we talked about last time about not being super familiar with war comics. Jonah Hex is a Western type comic.
Yeah.
And I'm not super familiar with those. However, he is a character who has appeared across the DC universe forever. Jonah Hex, he is known by his strange connecting of lips down.
Yeah, he's like disfigured. He has this real weird
and a bulging eye. He's kind of like
facial. He is a little bit like Two-Face. Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about it on a past episode, like Amalgam Comics, and I always remember they combined him with Chamber from Generation X to make Generation Hex, and partly that was because Chamber was also disfigured on his face from the nose down, basically. So the two made sense. Yeah, oh yeah, that's lives large in my mind for some reason. So we've got Jonah Hex, who's, from what I know, like a bounty hunter essentially. Yeah. He's in the Wild West, but like we're talking like 19th century, 1800s, Wild West. And I guess occasionally time travels and meets up with the modern day DC universe.
Totally. And he has like he has a descendant who was in like some iteration of a recent iteration of like Young Justice or Teen Titans with like Connor Kent Superboy. Like he's in the way that like Sergeant Rock is a figure in the DCU,
right? Yes,
but isn't like a member of the Justice League. Jonah Hex is like kind of like that,
right? He's like extended part, like definitive. He probably is like the most well-known Western hero of DC.
And there's actually a movie
Yes,
with
indeed.
Josh Brolin as Hex.
Yes. So
I just remembered
maybe,
that.
yeah, I never saw that
No,
one.
me neither.
But Josh Brolin, wow. So he's been Thanos, Cable, and Jonah Hex. The guy really loves the superhero movies.
Wow.
So, right, to pull the curtain back a little bit, Henry, when we found this, we were kind of wondering, like, maybe there was a Wild West Batman that once interacted with Jonah Hex or something like that. And instead, we found this series. Apparently, Jonah Hex's, well, this series Hex, which I'm sure there were other series called Jonah Hex,
Yeah.
but this one just called Hex, came out in the 80s. And the main focus of it is actually that Jonah Hex gets sent to the future. He leaves his 1800s Wild West and he's in the mid 21st century.
Oh, the future.
The far future. He's basically around when we are, which is really funny now. But in the 80s, it felt, I mean, especially coming from the 1800s, it's definitely far. So we're 11 issues in and we basically have him in the future. And of course, as we know, from Batman Beyond to The Dark Knight Returns to any other property, if you're in the future, you're gonna have future Batman, right?
Yeah.
So
someone's gonna be Batman.
Someone's gonna be Batman, whether it's Bruce Wayne or not, we don't know. Basically, on page 15 of this comic, we've been following this future Batman, and what we know about this future Batman is he does not like guns, which, an important Batman characteristic. Guns killed the original Batman's parents. This Batman, also anti-gun. So we have future Batman, and he's reflecting on his origin. And we get this flashback panel where we see that he's going back into he found the original Batcave.
Yeah.
He found the Batcave, and he's exploring it. And as luck would have it, while he's in the Batcave, a nuclear holocaust hits New York.
He happens to be
underground.
underground.
He happens to be underground, which also not Gotham,
No.
New York.
Yeah.
But anyway, a nuclear holocaust hits, kills almost everyone, and he survives it. His father, Kenneth Cohen, had served as a top-level disarmament negotiator under 3 administrations, so a very political guy. And his mother, Miriam Cohen, was a rabbi who, among her other humanitarian concerns, campaigned fruitlessly but tirelessly for handgun control. So basically, they're telling us 2 things. This Batman is very anti-gun, and this Batman is very Jewish.
Yeah. First of all, Rabbi Miriam Cohen, perfect.
I'm pretty sure I know Rabbi Miriam Cohen. I can't think of her right now, but I'm sure I've met her in the past. Yeah.
Miriam Cohen, if you're out there, please say hi.
Please, yes, absolutely. Tag us. Say hi.
Yeah, and it's weird. The art, it's sort of I don't know what she's wearing. Is she like a judge or what?
Yeah, she's wearing these robes that kind of look like a judge, or maybe it's like just there's too much shadow, but it's a kittel. Maybe it's like the high holidays.
Is
and
it
she's
like
wearing a kittel?
Future Tallis? How in the future everyone wears
sure,
like that, because she's got something that
it does look like a tallis around her neck for sure.
But it looks more like what a priest would wear during services.
Maybe Judaism got closer and closer to Christianity in this future.
She also looks like she's wearing a collar.
She does. Yeah. So maybe the artist just didn't know what a rabbi looked like. Yeah,
maybe.
You've seen that also. Yeah. It's not just that he's the last name Cohen would be enough to say this person's Jewish. His mom's a rabbi. It's very cool that we have an RK, a rabbi's kid, as future Batman.
Forget the trauma of Bruce Wayne watching his parents get murdered. Ellie, try growing up with rabbi parents.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? You are raising some rabbi children of your own right now. So it's just so funny imagining that. And of course, just like Bruce Wayne, there's this tragedy in the form of there's apparently a group of white supremacist fanatics called the National Reconstruction Alliance. Once again, reading the future and clearly completely unlike our modern day reality.
Of course.
And it says that the National Reconstruction Alliance focused their hatred on 2 groups: advocates for arms control and Jews.
Check and check for future Batman.
Absolutely. So therefore, both of Batman's parents, who survived a nuclear holocaust, were then killed by this hate group, which led to future Batman, who's of course very anti-gun. And we're not going to get into it, but Jonah Hex, being from the Old West, of course, his weapon of choice, guns. So he and Batman are going to clash. That's about it. We don't really get anything else. It's a 2-part episode or 2-part story. There's a lot of fun future Batman stuff, but all we really care about is the fact is in this future there is a Jewish Batman. That's our first piece.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, not much to say. I don't have much to say other than that's nice. It's really cool that future Batman is Jewish.
It's really neat. Yeah. Right. Doesn't mean that other Batmans are Jewish. Let's find out.
But I
Yeah.
wonder, I'm not, I promise I won't go
Yeah.
too crazy on this, but is the time period that they're in, that in the 80s they're projecting this in, would it be where Batman Beyond Terry McGinnis is Batman, or is that like, since Bruce is still alive there, is this like further in the future, you know?
I think it's further in the
So
future
it even
because
like it like jumps
don't
over.
you feel like Batman? One, don't you feel like Batman Beyond would have mentioned if there's a nuclear holocaust in the continental United States, right? And then two, this is like a funny thing that happens, right? This comic came out in the 1980s, well before Batman the Animated Series,
Right.
and therefore well before. So if anything, it's more like there's a future Batman, and then Batman Beyond came along and was like, not in our world.
Right.
We have this different future Batman.
Right. Yeah.
Now we're going to move from the future to the past,
Mhm.
and we are going to find a very different kind of Batman.
Yeah, we're looking at Batman Chronicles, number 11, December 1997.
What's up with these number 11s?
I know. Lucky number.
Yeah.
Berlin Batman is the name of the story, written, penciled, and inked by Paul Pope, colored by Ted McKeever, lettered by Ken Lopez, edited by Darren Vincenzo and Jordan B. Gorfinkel. Can I say something about Jordan B. Gorfinkel?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't know if you had planned to, but Jordan B. Gorfinkel was the editor for Batman Comics. He's the group editor for years through the heyday of 90s Batman, Nightfall, all that stuff. He also wrote a graphic novel, Passover Haggadah. Perhaps you have
Wow.
it. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't. I don't
Okay.
know. But I highly recommend it. It's incredible. And, you know, he's,
Is that the one through Corn or a different one?
I think it could be.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can get it on Amazon. It's like 25 bucks. It's beautiful and it is so accessible for people of all ages. And
Yeah, oh, I do have that one. Yeah,
of
it's
course you do.
great. Yeah, yeah.
And I'll throw up an image on so we get so
I
folks can see
actually
it.
literally last week was talking to a woman who someone else was like, you need to meet Brandon because he's very into comics because I think it's like she's also friends, I think, with Jordan
Richard.
because like he's working with Corn, I guess, to do a bunch of other
Yeah, I think he's
comic
working on
graphic novels now also.
maybe Book of
Yeah,
Esther.
no, that one's already come out, but
Right.
he's working on even more.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think that's his thing now, and like when he's been promoting this and like giving talks at synagogues and things like that, it's always like in his bio, it's like Batman group editor. Like
Yeah, that's his claim
that's
to fame.
really cool. That
Absolutely.
like
That the Batman group editor is out there doing things for Corn Publications of all
yeah.
places. Yeah, that's really, really neat. I thought you were going to go into, this is drawn and written by Paul Pope, who like has such a distinct style. Paul Pope is one of those creators that like in my mind, I know he's indie comics. I know that he's got a very fervent fan base, and he always would appear in like Wizard magazine when I'd read it
Mm,
and I'd know about him, but I'm very unfamiliar with his work directly.
mm,
Like I've
mm,
almost never. Do you read any
mm.
Paul Pope? Okay.
No, but but again, Brandon, to your point, when I read this comic, I recognized the art.
Yes, it's a
It's very
very
distinct.
distinct art
Yeah.
style. It's almost a little, it's very different from Frank Quietly, but there's like sort of a Frank Quietly energy almost.
Totally, totally.
Yeah,
That's sort of there's a there's a delicateness and a softness in guys like Chris Burnham and Frank Quietly that it's 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 like Alex Ross-esque, except it's a comic.
it's not
It's
trying to
not
be
an
as
oil
real
painting.
life. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so and I think and he is I think Paul Pope is I think is an even more sort of cartoony version of that. But again, there's like this the way his pencil lines move, there's like a flow. He has like these swirling if
Yeah,
you look at like the character's hair, the way they're sitting, there's a lot of like movement in his lines.
absolutely. I love hearing you analyze the art, Henry.
Thanks.
So we've got, as it said, Berlin Batman. We are going back to an alternate history, and an alternate World War II and an alternate Nazi Germany. This is not, unfortunately, our world of bombshells that we enjoyed so much with Batwoman. Rather, this is now on page one. We find out that there's a wealthy socialite, Baruch
Oh
Wayne.
my God. I mean, right already. I
Right.
can't even handle that.
Right. So, like, just right immediately from the name, right? It's not Bruce Wayne anymore. First of all, Wayne is W-A-N-E. They dropped the Y, which, okay, I guess that makes sense in Germany. Maybe it's even Vane. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
I mean, look at this mirror. Maybe it should be Bruce Vane.
Baruch. Like, it doesn't get much more Jewish. His name is literally Blessed, Blessed One, Blessed Batman. Wow.
So good. I mean, growing up, my dad on like a little like stupid joke in our family.
Hmm.
Like anytime there was some famous person, my dad would like replace their first name with a Jewish name. Like this is
Nice.
totally the type of thing he would
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Right. How do we make Batman Jewish? He's not Bruce, he's Baruch,
Like
right?
my dad would always
Yeah.
refer to any superhero whose last name ends in man, he would pronounce it like Goldman. He would be like Superman or
Right, right, right,
Spider-Man
right, right.
or
Oh,
Batman.
this is my good friend Clark Superman. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
I really appreciated the Baruch.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's really bizarre because he's dealing with a Nazi. I don't know if it's like he's openly Jewish and is so rich that the Nazis don't care, or if he's hiding his Jewish identity, because the Nazi command seems pretty cool with him.
Yeah, I kind of get the vibe that he is like so arrogant, so cocky
Hmm.
and rich
Yeah,
that like he doesn't care.
he just
Like,
doesn't
yeah.
care. Well,
And maybe
he's
they want to exploit him, and so they're
right.
yeah.
But so anyway, he's playing socialite. He's like even more, he's like a very flamboyant socialite in this
He's this
comic.
fabulous
Yes, a
Batman.
very fabulous, very
Love
fabulous
it.
Baruch Wayne.
Yeah.
And he is going to essentially act on some information to be able to foil the Nazis. And on page 11, we get a flashback to when Baruch is growing up. And his father says to him, "Son, in our world, you can only be the master or the slave, the donkey toiling in misery or the road breaking its back." Which, like, it's not explicitly Jewish content, but there's something about that that, like, I don't know, it scanned Jewish to me for some reason. There was something knowing that his father's educating him, saying, like, you're either the master or the slave. Like, I know most Jewish texts are more like, no, you are the slave, God's the master. But there was something about it that, like, I don't know, I wanted to bring it up because it felt Jewish to me.
It feels in the way that he says the donkey toiling in misery, that seems like a phrase from the Torah.
Right, you like I would expect this to be in the Mishnah somewhere,
Yeah.
that it would be like you are just a servant to God, toiling like a donkey in misery. Right? Like I would expect
So
it to be
uplifting.
something, yeah. But
Yeah, it feels very Jewish.
it's nowhere like that in
Yeah.
that way, right?
Because they literally were.
Right, absolutely,
Yeah.
right? In Pure KFO, we have this teaching that basically Rabbi Tarfon says the day is short, the work is great, the workers are lazy, but the reward is great, and the master of the house is pressing. It's
Mhm.
like God's demanding that you get the work done. So I don't, it just like I felt
Definitely reminded me of
it
that for
reminded me
sure.
of it. Cool. I'm not the only one. That's great. On page 12, we do get a little bit more explicit because our caption lets us know that Baruch was yet a boy when he tragically learned how he and the other Jews were hated by their neighbors. He saw his parents killed before his eyes walking home from the cinema one terrible night. So he has the same tragic origin in the cinema, and we could presume 1920s or 1930s Germany, depending on how old he is as a socialite. And we've got this rising sense of hatred of Jews in Germany, in Berlin. And on page 13, it lets us know that he was the strongest, smartest, and most precocious child in the whole class. He noticed others resented him more for this than for being a Jew. Which, like, I like, I guess, that Paul Pope is putting it in there, but it's interesting that like in this whole comic, it's the name is amazing. Like when I discovered there's a Jewish Batman in an alternate world, World War II, named Baruch Wayne, I got so excited. And then you read it and it's like, oh, like literally Paul Pope is just hitting the same note. Like they hate Jews, they hate Jews, they hate Jews. And that's it. That's all we get.
And also, I gotta say, the trope of Batman's original trauma of watching his parents killed, and like, you can go on YouTube and watch a supercut of like every single in film and TV version of that. It's like really long because there's so many. They always do it, right? It's like one of the most familiar origins, that and Krypton exploding and
Hmm.
right, Spider-Man being bitten by the
Yeah.
spider, Batman's parents getting killed. And they do it here, but it's like it's way more. I don't know. There's something about it in the comics and in the movies where it's like they're killed by a robbery, whether it's like, in the movie it's the Joker when he's young, and then it's Joe Chill in the comics, and like sometimes it's a mob hit, and sometimes it's just a crazed person who is robbing them.
Right.
Here it's like targeted anti-Semitism, and
Yeah.
Baruch watches in horror as his parents get beaten to death. And it just
Yeah.
felt like a little too graphic and like kind of I don't know. It's like it's not that that Bruce's parents getting killed, there's anything funny about it, but the repetition of it as a trope is in like a dark way kind of funny.
I get what you're saying. Right. It's almost like now I'm almost picturing it as like if there were Jews being like, we'll make Batman Jewish. Sure. Like, you want to know what would happen if he was Jewish? This is how his parents would get killed.
Right.
There'd be a swarm of anti-Semites and they'd beat him and they'd force him to watch. Right. Like, I'm like, oh, I
Exactly.
could see that. It has that sort of energy. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I
You
hear
and
what
I
you're
are on
yeah.
the same page tonight.
Yes, yeah, that's great. I'm feeling that. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a little too much in that weird way. And I mean, I don't think Paul Pope is Jewish, right? Like I
No
think
idea.
right. And I mean, the other thing I'm thinking is like if it weren't so close in history, you almost get the sense that Paul Pope would have wanted it to be that his parents were killed during Kristallnacht or
Hmm.
something like that. But Baruch would have been too young to be
Hmm.
Batman by the time of the Holocaust itself. But like you really get the sense of like because that's the level of like to have his parents were killed for being Jews. Was that level of anti-Semitic attack happening on the streets of Germany that
I
early?
don't think so. Not, I mean, and if anything, German Jews of the Wayne's stature here, they would have been the first ones surprised by being, when the Nazis came to their door to take them
Right.
away. Like, what do you mean?
We're German citizens. We've
Yeah.
been embraced by this society. 100%.
So
Yeah.
it does, he's not quite getting it.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like a little off. Again, it feels like if you could like stretch out the time a little bit more, it really feels like it's like the rise of anti-Semitism to the point of Kristallnacht at the start, and then it's him as Batman, right? Like fighting
Right.
against the Nazis.
Basically, he nailed the name.
He nailed the name. It's a great name. And that's it. Like, there's
Yeah.
not much else. It's a fine comic, but Batman Chronicles is the series that's all like it's just all Elseworlds, right? It's all like alternate world Batman cool stories. So that's two comics we've got. One from the 80s, one from the 90s, both showing us alternate Batmen that are Jewish but don't do much with their Judaism. And now I think we're going to move to something way more recent and something that we actually have a cool connection to,
Mhm.
right? We're looking at a series that you actually introduced to me, Henry, The Batman, with a hyphen between Bat and Man, right? Or like this is exactly the way that Cillian Murphy pronounces it in The Dark Knight, right? The
Yeah.
Batman.
Oh, and it's like how the Golden Age original Batman was
Yes.
written.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
sweet.
we're back to this old one, The Batman First Night. And this is a very cool series wherein Batman is it's also taking place during World War II,
Mhm.
but now it's in America, and it's basically what if Batman happened during the 40s, not, I mean, I guess
It's
around the time he
set.
was actually
Yeah,
created.
it's a story set in the Golden Age world, but where it's like its own Batman thing. It's just
Right.
the same time period as like
Right, right. It's the same time period as when Batman was actually
yeah,
created, but like really dealing with what's going on.
yeah.
All right, so I guess let's dive into that first issue.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is the Batman First Night, #1, May 2024, Book 1, written by Dan Jurgens, penciled and inked by Mike Perkins, colored by Mike Spicer, lettered by Simon Bowland, edited by Matthew Levine and Chris Conroy.
All right. I do have to say just real quick, Mike Perkins is just one of my favorite artists
He's
at this
great.
point. Like
Yeah.
every time he's on, like, there's so many series that have come out over the past like decade or so where it's just like Perkins is drawing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so good.
He's great. And Dan Jurgens has been very complimentary of him. Whenever I see, I've mentioned this before, Dan Jurgens is my, you know, number one, 1A favorite Superman writer and artist with Jerry Ordway, who we talked to of all time. And so whenever I see Dan's doing something, I get very excited. I always get a little disappointed that he's not penciling it. However,
Mm,
I quickly got over that when I opened up the first page and Mike Perkins' art is there.
absolutely. Right.
He just if I can say like a little couple things about his art. His style is very layered, where like the figures his figures in figure drawing almost seem 3D, whereas like he has these very detailed backgrounds and the figures almost seem like they're kind of stacked, like coming out of the panels.
Yeah, there's like this hyper detailed aspect to it. Yeah, it's very cool. I think I first fell in love with his art when he was working with Greg Rucka on Lazarus, the
Mm.
Image comic, which is this independent comic about the ultra wealthy taking over the entire world in a world where if you're not part of that rich family, you don't basically have rights. So Greg Rucka, I one time was at C2E2 talking to Greg Rucka, and he was just like going on a tear talking about how he's like, yeah, I mean, this isn't fully fiction. This is like, here's what we're going to be seeing happening in the world. And I remember listening, and I was like, this is terrifying, and I believe every word you say. Like,
Was that when we met him at C2E2 and
I think it must have been
like
like
right after Wonder Woman Rebirth and he signed
it was
that for
before
me?
2020. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I just remember, I don't remember if you, I remember it was like me and like one or two other people, and we're just chilling with Greg Rucka. Like there wasn't a bunch of people around. I was shocked, and it was like
I think that was
I was
that.
just
Yeah.
amazed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Mike Perkins is drunk. So we've got like this is a creative team that we're bound to be like, oh, this is really interesting and worth checking out. And so what, you know, we've got a Batman in the 1930s slash 1940s.
Yeah.
We have this Gotham City, and of course the question we're asking is, well, what's the Jewish connection? What's Jewish about this Batman?
So after the cover, so there's a great cover, Mike
Hmm.
Perkins art, Batman, you get the sense, the tone of everything. There's an introductory splash page that has a bunch of newspaper articles from the Gotham Gazette.
Yes, thanks for bringing this up. Yeah.
And the central top one, the headline is Nazis loot and burn Jewish shops and temples. Synagogues attacked with fires and bomb. Jews beaten, furniture and personal items flung from homes, shop destroyed. And then there's even, instead of just gobbledygook
There's actual
as it
writing.
said,
Yeah.
on the evening of November 9th, across Hitler's Germany, significant numbers of Hitler Youth and Nazi SS took to the streets to loot, destroy, and attack Jewish synagogues. Then it goes on a little bit, and you can't see it anymore. That's how the comic opens.
Right, right,
Before
right.
we
This
even get
comic,
to
right. So this is a comic that is like rooted in the history of comics and Judaism, right? Like when we started this podcast, we were pretty firm in saying, yeah, yeah, most Jewish comic book characters, like a lot of them in the Golden Age, the creators were Jewish. It was like we all know the story from Amazing Adventures of Caviar and Clay with Michael Chabon writing it in this fictional way. We know the story that's these Jewish boys from Cleveland, and there's these Jewish people, and like this is this most respectful, beautiful little being like, yeah, what if we write about what it's like to be in America, knowing that this Jewish hatred is going on in Europe, in
Mhm,
Germany,
mhm.
and you're looking for a hero.
Right.
And then there's a man dressed as a bat.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing. So on page 22, Batman has been beaten up a little bit. He's in an alley of Gotham City, and he gets checked on by a man wearing a kippah who says, Oi, to just in case you didn't get it. And Batman tries to shoo this guy away, and the guy lets him know, like, and leave you to them? Meshuggah, right? You're a crazy man. And reveals to Batman that they are at where? The Robinson Park Synagogue. And who is this man, Henry?
Batman says, "You're," and he says, "Rabbi Jacob Cohen."
Rabbi Jacob Cohen. It's
Jakob Cohen. I wonder if he's related to Miriam Cohen. Maybe he's like an
Oh,
ancestor
maybe
of
he's an
Miriam.
ancestor of Miriam Cohen, that future
They're
Jewish
both in
Batman.
Elseworlds.
Who
I know.
knows? That's so fun.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure this isn't where Jurgens got it from, but I just find it so funny that I looked up and there was in the United States a Rabbi Jacob Cohen, but with a C, not with a K. But he was a rabbi in Philadelphia.
A C in the first
A
name.
C in the first name. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Jacob with a C. But he was the rabbi of Congregation Mikveh Israel
Mhm.
in Philadelphia, but from 1784 until 1811. So we're talking like Revolutionary War era
Wow.
rabbi here in the US. So I don't know if that was like what Dan Jurgens was intending, but I like it. I like the idea of it being like this rabbi who's here, this rabbi who's here in this comic that's dealing with Jewish hatred and is dealing with like, oh, do Jews belong in Germany, etc. Like it's like this rabbi's as American as America gets in terms of the United States because he's there in like Revolutionary War era,
It's great.
right?
Yeah.
All right. So on page 23, the rabbi acknowledges for us that there's some parallels between what's going on in the US and what's going on in Germany. In Germany, it's the Gestapo that wears black leather. Here, it's the Klan that wears masks. So cool to see that. Batman acknowledges that they, meaning him and the rabbi, share the same enemies, to which the rabbi says, good, my people have been victimized enough. The fancy neighborhoods and country clubs that bar us and derisive comments and gestures are one thing. But those America First zealots who rallied in support of Hitler and a pure America, well, that's terrifying.
Dan's really laying it on thick
I
here.
mean, how can you hear that and not be like the history's repeating itself?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we talked about this once. I was it during those Captain America issues where we talked about the fact that there was a American Nazi rally
Yeah, the
that
Bund.
happened
Yeah.
during the Bund, and we talked about that famous guy who punched them in the face,
Yeah.
right? And got so so we know that this happened, and we know that even at the time, like even though the US eventually entered the war on the side of the Allies against Germany, that there was a contingent of people within the US that were sympathetic to Hitler's cause. And Dan Jurgens is really linking and saying like these two things like are very similar.
And in America, like the exactly what Rabbi Cohen says, they're not welcome in the country clubs and
Right.
the restricted country clubs long after that stayed restricted long after this, restricted
Right.
neighborhoods, so
Right. This is a time when, Jews had not been accepted as white in America. There was real significant. I feel like today we're living in a time where like there's undeniable anti-Semitism all around. There is lots of like mistrust of Jews from certain corners, but like also many Jews walk around, many Ashkenazi Jews walk around with like at least passing white privilege, right?
Oh, sure,
Which like again in the 1930s, not the case, very different.
right, absolutely.
So, as you said, we had that newspaper at the beginning, and now Rabbi Jacob Cohen also acknowledges Kristallnacht. He says that people he knew back in Germany were stripped of their wealth and their passports in the wake of Kristallnacht, but he says that it happened last autumn. So we've now moved, even though we began there, we've moved further into the year. He says the Nazi bastards burned and looted every Jewish business or synagogue in sight, and the thousands who were marched off to concentration camps. What do you think will happen to them? Because this is, of course, written like this is before the concentration camps became death camps.
Right.
Which, again, as you said, Dan Jurgens is laying on thick with what's going on, right? I mean,
It's like they knew what was happening.
also
It was
this
being
came
reported on.
right,
Yeah.
right. I'm struck as we're talking about this, like this was in 2024 before the increase of like ICE attacks into all sorts of cities. Not to get like too deep into modern day politics, but like he's just really showing like it feels like this is both an educational series, like you need to know what happened with Kristallnacht, and also is like flashing neon lights being
Yeah.
like, hey, America, wake up. This kind of thing happens.
Yeah, Dan is in the zone with this series. Like
Mhm.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll also say, right, with all love and respect to your favorite writer or one of your favorite writers, sometimes when these guys that were writing back in the 90s come back for a series, I'm a little hesitant because some of them have like lost the mojo. Some of them are still writing in that old style. And like every time I love Chris Claremont's X-Men run to death. And every time Claremont comes back, I'm just like,
Yeah, it's diminishing
it's
return.
diminishing returns. So when you hear that Dan Jurgens is writing, for me at least, I was like, I don't know about this. And then every time I'm diving into the series, it's like, oh wow, he is like he has something to say, and this is hitting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should say also he lives in Minneapolis. He's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where he lives.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like you said, this was before, but might be something that he's writing for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we are not covering it, but book two,
Right, is
or
already
not
out.
book two, but year two is a second night. Is that what it was called? Yeah,
Yes.
second night. The Batman second night is already starting to come out. I
And,
think there's
and by
only
the time this podcast episode airs, the third issue of that second night
Right.
will have been in stores.
and we suspect there's probably
I-
a third night to come,
I
in
assume
which case
it's
we'll see
been
more.
doing very well. Yeah.
All right, so we've got all these parallels. Batman commiserates with the rabbi's fears, and Rabbi Jacob Cohen says, most Gentiles, assuming that's what you are, insist that nightmare is impossible. So now we have, the rabbi basically saying, like, most non-Jews don't really believe it's as bad as the Jews are saying it is because they're not experiencing it, which again, constantly throughout history, we have this case of like, listen to the people that are telling you, but you have people being like, oh, I don't see the problem. I don't see why it'd be an
Yeah.
issue. And I mean, like, Henry, this is our first, I think, like real Easter egg, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Like if he's saying most Gentiles, assuming that's what you are, Rabbi Jacob Cohen is clearly leaving room for Batman to maybe even say, like, actually, I'm
Actually,
one of you, right? Like, is that not what he's doing?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. The rabbi's making assumptions. You would think
Right,
she wouldn't make assumptions, but
right.
yeah.
On page 24, Batman explains his mission to the rabbi, and we see that incredible Perkins art, where at the bottom of the page we just get a beautiful,
Beautiful.
beautiful synagogue interior, and like
And
that's a synagogue.
this is something. This does not look like a church. I mean,
No.
it does have that sort of 20th century American mimicking sort of the Gothic style of churches.
Right.
However, there's a Ner Tamid, there are stained glass windows, there are those things on the wall that are the memorial wall plaques. And there's an arc in the middle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and a menorah on the bima. So great job,
Great
Perkins.
job, Mike Perkins. Page 25, our rabbi friend makes the beautiful offer, basically letting Batman know he's an ally if Batman ever needs spiritual help. Because he says, I'm not much of a fighter. I,
And he puts up his dukes.
yeah. Because Jacob suspects Batman's kind of tortured inside and might need
Right.
someone to listen to him. I friggin' love this. As someone who's like, I love superheroes, but I'm not physically fit enough to be a superhero. The idea of being like, yeah, I could be Batman's spiritual advisor. Are you kidding me? That's the dream. We are moving on to the Batman First Night #2 from June 2024, titled Book 2, and it's the same exact creative team. So I like it. Basically, all of these comics find a similar rhythm where it's like Batman's going off and having his interactions with Gotham, and there's the main story, and then like around 20 something pages in, Rabbi Jacob Cohen shows up to interact with him.
It is a nice rhythm because the story also, like I should just say, it's very engaging. Like there are grotesque villains in it, and that both feel like sort of fantastical, like a Batman comic, but they're not cartoony. It's more like Chris Nolan sort of real versions
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
those villains. And it's like it's a good
It's a really
story.
great comic. Yeah. So on page 29, we see Jacob bringing food to people in a shanty town. He's basically delivering food to the poor, the homeless, the unfortunate, and he's letting them know that this food is courtesy of the Robinson Park Synagogue. Love it. He's doing such a mitzvah right now, right? He's bringing things, he's bringing the tzedakah. And I love that it's like one of the people he's bringing it to thanks him and like calls him father. And the other one corrects him and goes, that man's a rabbi, dummy. Um, and then someone else in appreciation is like, oh, I've got skills with carpentry if the synagogue needs it, which like it's just nice to see him actually helping people at a
Yeah.
time. So Jacob lets them know, my name is Rabbi Cohen. Come see me sometime. Shalom. Love it. He's just being a real sweet guy. Keeps bringing food, and then we see two troublemakers, two bad guys looking at the rabbi, and they have this small exchange. A yid here, the other one says.
Gotta change that.
So then they go and they start physically intimidating the rabbi. Why did he give to others? Why didn't he give to them? They claim that they want some scratch, and everyone knows you people got plenty.
Yeah.
There's something about the way Jurgens is writing this, and I think because we get more of Rabbi Cohen as a character, like we were just talking about that Paul Pope comic, where it's like the anti-Semitism feels like, I don't know, it's just like, yeah, we get it, people hate Jews. I don't know, there's something about the specifics here where it's like, ah, there, like you can feel the empathy. You can feel the like Jurgens is trying to do something with the story. He's not just being like, let's show people hating Jews.
It's not salacious, grotesque, exploitative. It's like he's writing it from Rabbi Cohen's perspective. It's
Right.
very
It's
clearly,
very clear from his perspective, but it's also like I read, right? Like everyone knows you people got plenty. And I'm like, oh, I've started to feel uncomfortable reading
Mhm.
that, right?
But it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like Dan, as the writer, is like
Oh,
saying that
totally.
thing.
Yeah.
He's like he is putting it. He's letting us know that like this is a real thing that is said in towards Jews. This is a real stereotype, and the villains are the ones saying it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then on page 30, Batman saves the rabbi, starts beating the crap out of these men, and then our rabbi asks Batman to stop.
stop this, please. There's no need to injure them. He like, please, like really has to, because Batman goes into one of his like
Right. He's like,
blind,
you know,
he's like
in
in berserker mode, like the whole thing.
100%.
We've seen Batman in a blind rage
This
before.
is like really tapping into that. I guess it's also because the earliest Batman, like he didn't have as much of a code as eventually develops in continuity.
Right.
But like this is really getting into when people would make the joke where they're like, yeah, Batman doesn't kill people, but like sometimes he messes them up in a way where it's like, you're not walking the same after that. Like he's still brutal with what he does to people.
I think we talked about that when we talked about Batman in our Golem episode. Like there
Yeah,
was
that
something in
sounds
there that like
right.
he was totally brutal.
Right.
And it's also like he's Batman kind of does the like I didn't say I was going to kill you, but I'm not going to let you live kind of thing.
Right.
The walk away when something blows up, the
Yes, that's
whatever collateral damage happens as he's blowing up at the Batmobile.
yeah, it's like he is. I mean, it's funny because Superman, with all of his power, like he would never do that to a
No.
person,
No.
right? Like he's really so different. Okay, so then it's just lovely. Like, of course, we have this rabbi being like, I don't care that they're my enemy. Like, you don't beat them up in that
Mhm.
way.
Mhm.
I was just teaching some teens this past week, and I was looking at a source, and one of them was, I think, Gersonides having commentary on a verse in Psalm in Proverbs, that basically said that when you're in trouble, you shouldn't wish for bad or evil things happen to the people that are harming you, because that's not what you need. What you actually need is just to be safe.
Mm.
You need to be saved from the harm. You don't need them to experience something in return. And he's like, that is the way of a man of faith.
Is that similar to in Exodus, like in, you know, when the Israelites get across the sea and the Egyptians get drowned and
The angels are
they
singing
and
and yeah.
singing and God chastises them like
I think that one for me is a little different because God. So when the Egyptians drown in the sea, the Israelites start singing and dancing because they're free, and the angels in heaven start singing also. And God tells the angels to shut up because He says, "The works of my hands are drowning, and you would sing, you would laugh, you would dance." And I always took that as
and that's a midrash.
that's a midrash.
Yeah.
God tells the angels to be quiet. God doesn't stop the Israelites. So I always take that as
Mm.
the Israelites who directly suffered under this Egyptian army, it makes sense that they would be celebrating it. But for the angels who did not, right? Like it's like they were still human beings, and we have
Mm.
to acknowledge that. This, I think, like the Gersonides teaching is more about saying like people don't need if you come and punch me, I don't need to punch you back. I just need to get away from you punching me,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
what
I,
Gersonides
I
seems to be arguing.
who is
Gersonides,
Gershon? Is that
uh,
like Gershon or something?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
I never heard
yeah.
that one
He
before.
is a medieval, I believe, French Jewish scholar and
Oh, okay.
philosopher, who is Levi Ben Gershon.
Okay.
Yes. So, yes, the ides ending is basically the same as saying son of. So,
Right.
Maimonides is the son of Maimon,
Right.
Nachmanides is
Nachmanides,
the
yeah.
son of Nachman, and Gersonides is the son of Gershon or
Cool. I
Gerson.
never knew there was a
Yeah.
third one. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
many more,
I'm
but like,
sure there's others, but
yeah,
yes.
that's
And
cool.
oh, yes. Okay. I wanted to double check this. He is also sometimes known as the Ralbog.
Oh, okay. I've
So
heard of
you've
him.
maybe heard of the
Yeah,
Ralbog.
for
Yeah.
sure.
All right. So let's refocus here. I like that we brought in some good Jewish stuff here. So page 31, they're back at the synagogue, and Jacob, it's kind of funny. He asks, like, "Oh, Batman, were you out looking for me specifically?" And Batman expresses some doubt about his mission. And then, holy crap, on page 32, Batman takes off the mask and cowl and reveals his identity to this rabbi and admits he has no one else he can trust, but there's something different about this rabbi. So cool.
That's awesome. I
It's
mean,
so cool.
it's paced really well.
Yeah.
There's a first a zoom out of them talking, then a close up of him with the mask. Like, is he going to do it? And then he's just there.
Hmm.
He's Bruce, and Rabbi Cohen recognizes him. It's amazing.
It's like there's no Alfred. He doesn't
Right.
have the relationship. Like he's like, there's not a
No
Commissioner Gordon. There's
Robin.
no
Yeah.
Robin. Like the one person who knows where
This
Batman's
is a
secret is
rabbi.
a rabbi.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Which again, like we got this rabbi, we've got this Jewish connection, but like, why is Bruce more comfortable going to a rabbi than say a priest? Right? I guarantee you, if this comic were written, maybe not by Dan Jurgens, but if this comic were written 20 years ago, 100% it would be, even with all this, you would be going to some priest that is like, oh, I feel so bad for those Jews. What's going on there? Like,
If like
it's,
Frank Miller wrote it and just turned it into
yeah,
Daredevil shtick and
exactly,
yeah.
right? Like it is kind of just shocking to me that we're living in a world where there's a writer who's like, yes, they're making a point, but they're like, Batman's going to have a relationship with a rabbi of
Mm-hmm.
all clergy figures.
Yeah, and I think this will become clear a little later, but I think because in at least here, Batman doesn't have any like Jewish baggage or any. I
Right.
think the rabbi is assuming correctly here
Right.
at this point that he's not Jewish.
Right.
That like Batman, there's no like there's nothing at stake. It's not like if he betrayed a priest with it by doing the things
Got
he's
it.
doing.
Yeah.
Like it's rabbi's sort of safe for him because he's not necessarily connected in that way.
Got it. Right. He's like
Right.
fully a sort of like outside. Yeah. Okay. I hear that. Well, just to finish this issue, on page 33, Rabbi Cohen asks Batman if he's a man of faith, and Batman says this kick-ass line, basically saying like that he hasn't thought much of God or heaven, but he is certain that there's a hell. And it's just like, oh, Jurgens, you're doing great with the
And
scripting
it's like
here.
all bold in caps. It's
Yeah.
like you in my head canon, that's when his voice goes back to Batman voice.
Yeah, I like
Like,
that.
he's like it's that there is most certainly a hell.
Yeah, love it. And then instead of being offended by it, instead of that, like Jacob's response is, events in the Deutschland prove that
Mhm.
the unrestrained evil of it all is frightening. Which I will say for my own personal theology, like I do believe in heaven and hell, but I believe they're right here on earth and we can be making this earth one of them or the other at any
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
And like there have been many times we have turned this place into hell.
Mhm.
And like that, the rabbi feels that. We are in the final issue, The Batman First Night number 3, July 2024. Once again, about 20 something pages in, page 21, we see Jacob Cohen, and he is at the synagogue, I think, uh, saying goodbye to the Fine family and thanking them for food and letting her know your falafel schnitzel is truly the best I've ever had, Mrs. Fine. And he encourages the family to get home. The husband, the father of the family, Mr. Fine, thanks the rabbi for listening. Esther's been a wreck since we stopped hearing from her parents in Dusseldorf.
Mhm.
Ah, so these are German American immigrants
Mhm.
who have stopped getting word from back home. Um, Go
So
ahead, Henry. Yeah.
So like the elephant in the room.
Yes.
So my best friend from growing up and our mutual friend and your rabbinic colleague, I have a friend named Rabbi Jeremy Fine, and you do too. And Jeremy spoke with Dan Jurgens in preparation for this comic.
Yeah.
He knew Dan a little bit through when Jeremy was a rabbi in Minnesota and did some joint events together. Jeremy would bring people to his synagogue for this thing called Hanukkah, and he'd like bring comic book artists, bring the voice of Ariel from Little Mermaid, and like
Cool.
other cool things like that. He got connected with Dan. They struck up a friendship, and Dan kind of picked his brain about rabbi stuff
Yeah.
and had told him this idea. And I remember when Jeremy called me to tell him about it. And so, it's sort of like Rabbi Cohen is not Jeremy Fine, but he's not Jeremy Fine.
Right,
And I will
right.
say that is if you look at the picture, the images of Rabbi Cohen, again, he doesn't look like Jeremy, but he
Well,
does
it's like
not look
sort
like
of in
him.
the way that like comic books have these idealized versions of people where they're made, right? Like, right? It's sort of like, yeah, like you start with the human basis of Jeremy, and then it's like you transform him through the magic of comics, and like you get a guy who looks like Jacob Cohen, right? But right, so it's so funny that like the image of this rabbi is kind of based on
Yeah, he's
Jeremy,
like a young guy. He's got
and then
he's like got kind of dark complexion, a nice beard, nice head of hair, good looking guy. Like,
right. And then he's talking to a family in this comic, and the family literally has his last
yeah.
name,
So,
the Fine family.
so
Yeah,
I think, down the road at some point we'll talk to Jeremy
that'd be
here on
great.
the podcast and we'll get some more details. But
Yes.
I just I was like, I'm like squealing with delight at this, and I just I
Yeah.
had to take a moment to
We
say it, especially because the Fine family has been introduced to Gotham
exactly.
City.
So funny.
So we can talk more
Although
to Jeremy about
it
that.
is funny that Mrs. Fine makes a falafel schnitzel. I understand the schnitzel from Germany, but like, does the falafel a little bit of an anachrony? Like, was there falafel schnitzel in the
No,
1930s?
I think I've been nothing but complimentary to Dan. To be fair, when we've pointed out little nitpicks, I think he conflated two things by mistake.
Yeah, yeah,
To my understanding, those are two different foods.
right.
And especially like if you're talking to German Jews, schnitzel is a food for all
That's what I'm
Germans.
saying. Yeah, yeah,
Like
100%.
falafel is specific to Middle Eastern
Right,
countries.
right, right. So anyway, Jacob wishes them shalom. He fears that the news of their family will be bad since they haven't heard anything, and then enter some thugs who want to beat up the rabbi,
Here we
and
go again.
Jacob begs them not to use gasoline. Oh. On page 22, Rabbi Cohen is saved once again, this time not by Batman, but by a man with a gun, excuse me, who Jacob recognizes as Moshe Kirschbaum. Now, he knows Moshe because Moshe's brother goes to the synagogue there, acknowledges that the brother introduced them months back, but Moshe prefers to go by Maxi. And I don't know, did you get the sense, Henry? Like, it seems like he's maybe got some like mafia connections or
Yeah,
something like that,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah. But I love the way it plays out is very much like, oh yeah, we know each other. We met through like it just feels very Jewish geography-esque
Yeah.
of
Oh, we
like,
know your
oh,
brother. He comes to the shul.
yeah, exactly. Right? Like there's something really funny here. And so like Maxi Kirschbaum saves him. We now jump forward to page 38, where fire is all about spreading, and the rabbi worries the fire will spread to the synagogue. And Maxie thinks that's not a priority to save the synagogue, but Jacob insists
Jacob will not accept that.
he
He
will not
says,
accept it, right?
yeah.
He needs to
And he still
go.
calls him Moshe, which isn't so nice when someone tells you the name they prefer, but
I
okay.
agree. I agree. Right? Like there's something, I guess Dan Jurgens is trying to show us that this rabbi's like, you can't escape your
Yeah, of
Judaism.
course.
Like,
Yeah.
don't like assimilate by
Yeah.
giving up your name. But like, yeah, if
We
someone
know in
says,
2026 if someone tells you what their preferred name is,
right, you should go
you
by it. 100%, 100%. So Maxie then comments how this fire, like, oh, it reminds him of Kristallnacht.
Mm,
And of course, Rabbi Cohen then asks, like, oh, you were there? And Maxie lets him know that he had a girl with him who had
mm,
family there.
mm.
And they were sending letters, and after Kristallnacht, the letters stopped. So there's a lot, like, it's interesting how it's both so direct and also there's so much, like, very powerful pausing. Like, it's not answering everything, but like the sort of the like assumed worst things are coming through. So they start using a hose to fight the fire, and Maxie says, hope you got the pull for some divine providence. We turn to page 46. They managed to succeed. They burn out the fire. And now we've got Jacob sweeping up a mess and listening to a radio broadcast about the war. He's talking to Batman once again. Batman offers to help him clean up. And in the background, there's a little radio that is mentioning the SS St. Louis with about 1,000 Jewish passengers turned away at the U.S. and sent to Antwerp. And I don't remember if we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but of course, the SS St. Louis was a boat full of 1,000 Jewish refugees that was sent. And if it had been let in at the U.S., then they would have been saved. But ultimately, because no one else would take them in, they were sent back over to Europe, and those passengers were taken to
Mostly
camp.
dead, yeah.
Yeah. The rabbi comments that he fears for these poor souls on the boat, and Batman acknowledges that there are some people helping to emigrate people, aka Jews, into the US ASAP, to which Rabbi Cohen notes that Bruce Wayne is one of those people. So also like, hell yes. I love the idea that Bruce Wayne's like, I'm going to use my wealth to save Jews from Europe. Like,
It's like, you watch the Ken Burns documentary about the Holocaust, and like there's this part there, I forget which part it is, maybe the second part. It's so maddening when you're watching what's happening in America of like just the complete refusal and how actually like every single person that actually did get out, it really was a miracle. It was
yeah,
by
yeah.
chance. Like everyone, it had to have been a story, a connection, or money. And here, like Bruce Wayne, people all the time, there's like that thing that went viral a few years ago that like it was like a story like what if Bruce Wayne
Like, what if he used his money for social change
yeah,
instead of
yeah, yeah,
fighting?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And there's like all that stuff going on. But here it's actually happening. Like it's just one
Hmm.
tiny panel, but he's but he confirms that Bruce Wayne is not only bringing Jews over, but giving them a job at Wayne Enterprises.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's
which
very cool.
all does seem like something Bruce Wayne would do.
Right, right, right. And it's something where it's like using it to make impact where he can,
Yeah.
and also like keeping up the comic, which is like him getting to be Batman. It's like that's the fun of the comic. Yeah. So on page 47, Batman shares that he has left a gun behind. He won't use it. So we get now Batman coming to his commitment not to use guns. And Jacob responds by saying to him, in a place where there are no worthy men, strive to be worthy, which is Pierre Vote. He's quoting Pierre. It doesn't say it is, but it's Pierre Vote 5-2. This is quoting.
In quotes.
It's in quotes, but it doesn't, right? He's quoting Hillel. This is a famous Hillel teaching. B'makom she'ein anashim, hishtadel lehiot ish. In a place where there are no people, I like this translation, where there are no worthy men. The Hebrew says like strive to be a man. I like this translation, strive to be worthy, right? Like, but basically it's like if everyone around you is being an animal, if no one around you is being a person, if no one around you is like being a mensch, you've got to strive to be that person. Don't like let them pull you down into that. Incredible, incredible. And then of course Jacob invites Batman to join his family for a nice Shabbat dinner, which Batman appreciates the offer but declines.
Damn it.
I know.
He's this close.
We had the Superman having Shabbat dinner panel. Like, can you imagine Batman at Shabbat dinner panel? Oh, I wanted so
thematically
badly.
it makes sense.
No, of course you would say no, but yeah.
I could have seen like a silhouette of looking from street level, the outside of Jacob's dining room with like the Shabbat candles shining through, and you see Jacob, his wife, and then Bruce, like you see like the hair.
But here's the thing, because he's Bruce Wayne, would he show up and then Jacob's wife is like, how do you know Bruce Wayne? Right? Or would he show up as Batman?
Right. That's true. Right. Superman showed up as Superman.
Yeah, but like it's like Superman showing up is slightly less weird because Superman's got his face revealed. Like imagine being in a meal and like Batman's the cape and cowl the whole time. Anyway, so that's Batman First Night. What an incredible series. What great stuff. What incredible Jewishness. And if you've been listening and you're wondering, okay, it doesn't sound like Batman's Jewish. You're right. So far, we've got alternate world Jewish Batman. We have this Batman who's comfortable with a rabbi and like some hints and intimations. Like also like, is Batman just really that good at the kindness of his heart? Or like, is he paying for Jews to immigrate? Because like, is he Jew? But nothing is explicit. Nothing is clear. But before we go into our last comic today, Henry, do you want to say, like, let's just review again.
Yeah.
Kate Kane.
Okay. So let's talk a little Batman Jewish genealogy.
Yeah.
So Roderick Kane married Betsy Kane. Okay.
Okay.
Their children were Philip Kane, Colonel Jacob Kane, Nathan Kane, and Martha Kane. Okay. So Jacob Kane and Martha Kane are brother and sister.
Okay.
Martha Kane married Thomas Wayne.
Yes.
And became Martha Wayne. Colonel Jacob Kane married someone named Gabby Kane, okay, had a daughter named Kate Kane.
Right. And this is now this was the question because we were like, oh, is Bruce's mother Jewish? Well, maybe if she's related to Captain Kane's wife and he's the Jewish one, we were saying maybe not. But now we're saying her brother is the very Jewish Jacob Kane.
He's the Jewish brother.
Father of Kate Kane.
Right. So if we are going to get into maternal, patrilineal stuff, which we can, that traditional Judaism, Judaism is followed, the Jewish heritage is followed through the mother. I would say in more progressive Judaism, both are, right. So in this case, it's unclear if Gabby Kane, the wife of Colonel Jacob Kane, is Jewish. Right. Either way, Kate Kane, Batwoman, identifies as a Jew.
Yes.
So even if she has
Hanukkah, we've seen her do all these things.
She has the cup on her.
Right. She has the Sphirot up. Yes.
She's Jewish. So, but
Martha Wayne, if Colonel Jacob Kane is the Jewish one, and that means his sister must be Jewish and their parents must be Jewish. So if Martha Wayne is the mother of Bruce Wayne, then Bruce Wayne must be Jewish.
Right. So as you said, in my head, I was thinking earlier, you're podcaster, son of a Jewish genealogist, right? Like as a son of a Jewish genealogist, as you're saying, there's some ambiguity which seems to say we know that Colonel Kane and Martha Kane are siblings,
Right.
and so the question is Batwoman's mother Jewish? In which case there'd be no Judaism in Bruce Wayne's side. Is her father Jewish, Jacob Kane Jewish, in which case there would be Judaism on Bruce Wayne's side? Or are both her parents Jewish, in which case, again, there
Right.
would be Judaism on Bruce's side?
Now, there is one I will say, like, not I haven't gone completely cuckoo. Like, I don't know anything about Roderick Kane and Betsy Kane,
Right.
Jacob and Martha's parents. And Brandon, when I tell you I searched everything, not just some Googling, like I dug deep. They're the only Jewish connections to Batman's family is Jacob Kane. He never said anything about growing up Jewish. So for all we know, he might have converted to Judaism.
Right, right.
I don't know that the Canes are Jewish. So
Okay.
so maybe this is all irrelevant.
So maybe this is all
Maybe
irrelevant,
Martha
right.
isn't Jewish.
Right.
However,
However,
we know he is Jewish.
right,
So if we assume that was born Jewish, then his sister has to be Jewish.
right. And we finally get some in continuity proof just about 2 years ago in, of all things, a Penguin series. This is a solo series of the Penguin, presumably hot off the heels of the success of the Penguin TV show
so,
that
yeah.
people love. The Penguin is suddenly like, I love being in this world where like bizarre villains are suddenly getting solo runs, right?
Clayface is about to get a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what's going to happen? So we're looking at the Penguin #7 from April 2024, and Unimportant Man Part 2. This is written by Tom King, penciled and inked by Stevan Subić, colored by Marcelo Maiolo, lettered by Clayton Cowles, and edited by Ben Abernethy. And we really only care about one small panel in this. But I can't believe I missed it when it came out. But in the Penguin #7, Batman is walking around. It's written by Tom King. Tom King wrote a lot of great Batman comics.
Yeah, it's sort of like
solid Batman voice.
he is the modern Batman writer, I would say.
And
Like
DC
the most
Rebirth, like Batman writer.
Yeah.
Although Scott Snyder kind of also, because Scott Snyder did a lot of,
also do New 52.
and now Absolute Batman. Like I would,
Yeah.
like between the two, though,
Yeah,
I think
Snyder
they
and
did
King are like the Batman
the
guys.
Batman
They're
guys,
like
yeah.
the equivalent of like the 90s, like Jim Aparo, Norm Breyfogle, Chuck Dixon.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. So anyway, Tom King has Batman is recognizing a very rare handkerchief, a Rabat silk handkerchief
He's doing
from
his
the
like
12th century.
Batman detective work.
He's doing that, right. So he's in a room, he sees this handkerchief, he sees the excerpt, and he comments to himself that it's a rare handkerchief from the 12th century, and it's so rare that in fact there's only one in all of North America. And he knows this because that one in North America was his mother's. And then he lets us know that it was a Hanukkah gift from my father.
Okay, so the exact wording is, "My mother had it, a Hanukkah gift from my father." So if we're gonna like,
Yeah.
okay, unpack that.
Let's get the
So-
Charlie meme from It's Always Sunny in
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Yep.
So okay, so I already did that with
Mhm.
Martha and Jacob. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Batman is aware of Hanukkah because his father gave
this-
his mother a gift for Hanukkah, that means whether it was a big ass party where they lit candles all 8 nights every year, or an acknowledgement of his mother's holiday,
Yeah.
either way, Bruce Wayne had some version of Hanukkah in his house
Yes.
growing up.
And-
And like for not very long, like, remember his parents died when he was quite young.
Yes,
so like
right. He
it
was-
was significant to
It was significant. It is a memory that he has that his mother received this gift for Hanukkah. So yes, his mother celebrates Hanukkah, which to me feels like is indicating that indeed Martha Kane Wayne is Jewish, Therefore, Jacob, right, Cain also, her brother, is Jewish. He did not convert later in life. We have this, the whole Cain family, according to this caption at least, is Jewish. Hanukkah was celebrated in Batman's household. He is, by understanding of Jewish law, the son of a Jewish mother, which I think that means, Henry, that Batman's Jewish.
I'm saying Bruce Wayne is Jewish. Okay, I'm saying it.
Like on the record,
On the
we're
record,
declaring it.
Bruce Wayne is
Hector,
Jewish.
the
Yes.
funny they don't look Jewish stamp of approval.
Yes, you can get your own sticker of Funny They Don't Look Jewish Hector on henryjbernstein.com merch.
Amazing. You gotta link that in for
Yeah,
people.
I will.
I mean, it's wild because like this came out, and I feel like it's like whispered, like it's like this is like a bombshell revelation that I'm just like, wait, is DC gonna really do more with this? Like, also, if we look at it again, you have like alternate future Batman, alternate Batman that might be Jewish. Then you get the storyline where Batman's hanging out with a rabbi, and then we get this. Like, it really feels like DC is like slowly over time pushing into Bruce Wayne is Jewish.
And this is the main timeline.
Yeah.
And have we seen Tom King before here on the podcast? I know we've been reading him for years, but I don't think
I
so.
don't think we've ever covered an issue of his. No, you know, we thought about it because unfortunately, I do like a lot of Tom King's writing. He did also write one of the worst bits of Jewish representation I've ever seen. If you remember, he wrote a Lobo Hanukkah story,
Oh God, that
and
was
I just remember that being like offensively
yeah, that
bad.
was bad.
We never
Yeah,
covered it official because we were like,
yeah.
I mean, listeners, as you may know, we sometimes cover things and we complain and we critique, but in general, Henry and I both prefer to like our comics and love our comics. And that was when it's like we would be doing nothing but ranting and raving, so it was better to not cover that.
Yeah.
But also now Tom King has given us that Batman is
It's
Jewish.
it's amazing. This tiny little caption on this tiny little and this is the main
Yeah,
timeline. This
right.
is the DC Universe Batman in comics.
This isn't like
This isn't an Elseworlds
this isn't like
or
that
future.
Fantastic Four issue where everyone had a feeling the thing was Jewish, and there's a big dramatic moment where he says the Shema
Right.
and reveals that he's Jewish, right? This isn't like the behold, this character's Jewish. This is like for years, fans have been like, do you think if Batwoman's Jewish, could Batman be Jewish? Like people have been wondering, and it's just like this tiny one line. You could blink and miss it, but it feels like it's the answer.
It feels like it's the answer for sure. And you know what's funny about it is, you mentioned that conversation that's out there, is Bruce Wayne Jewish? For whatever reason, I haven't seen much of that. I'm sure it's there. But I see more the Peter Parker thing that
Yeah,
everyone's always
sure.
saying like Peter Parker's for sure Jewish, and I've never seen any evidence, actual like this kind of evidence to indicate as such.
Yeah.
But this is like if there was a one line that said where he noticed something, is like, oh, Uncle Ben used to gave this to Aunt May for Hanukkah.
Right.
Like, done.
That would be proof.
Done.
100%.
So like this is like real to me. This is very, very strong evidence that it's now canon. So to me that then it's irrefutable until you
Right.
retcon that Bruce
Sure.
Wayne
Yeah.
didn't recognize a handkerchief that his
Yep.
mother got for Hanukkah. Then I mean, and you don't mess with stuff with his parents, right? Like when stuff happens with the
Yeah.
parents, it's like
Right. That is there. That's legit. I mean, again, it's wild. It's like, are we going to see other writers play with this? Are we going to see other writers acknowledge it? It is canon because it's there, but it's also like it's there until someone chooses to either retcon it or to build upon it. And my real hope is that we'll have another writer who chooses to build upon it.
in 2000 and in 2020, you and I went to C2E2, and I went to a table in Artist Alley that had Tom King, Mitch Gerards, and Evan Doc Shaner.
Yeah, so I got the picture of you guys.
And it was
Yeah.
a great picture. And I remember the big thing was they were going to be wearing gloves and we're not picking
Mhm.
heads and everything, whatever, fine. And I think Mitch actually might have gotten COVID at that
Oh.
thing. He definitely got sick. But anyway, and I talked to them for a super long time. They signed everything. They were so funny, so nice, exactly how you'd want an interaction
Yeah.
with those guys to be the writers of Batman and Strange Adventures and Mr. Miracle.
And the Vision series, yeah.
I swear to you, Brandon, if Tom King ever comes back to a con in Chicago, I will go to it with this comic and I will ask him, does this mean that Batman is canonically Jewish? I promise you.
We absolutely have to.
Make
We
that
absolutely
promise.
have to. I currently am not planning to go to C2E2, but if I find out Tom King is going to be there, you're right. Like, we have to buy tickets
Yes.
immediately and go. Wow, amazing. So that's what we've got right now. I think we did a pretty thorough job, but if you listeners know of any other Batman comics in which there's Judaism involved, feel free to let us know. As a reminder for everyone, we covered once he had a team up with Ragman where there was some Jewish stuff, but that was like, we
And
covered
then the
that in the
Golem one
Ragman
that we
issue.
mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So seen a bit, but for right now, again, funny they don't look Jewish is saying Batman's
Batman is
Jewish,
Jewish.
baby. Batman's Jewish, and so am I. And that's it for this time. So until next time, I'm Brandon Bernstein.
I'm Henry Bernstein.
No relation.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us at Jewish Comics Pod on Facebook and email us at jewishcomicspodcast@gmail.com. Please give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already.